Hey friends, thanks for joining us. Wanted to encourage you today. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Give us a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And also leave a comment down in the comment section. We'd love to interact with you and talk with you. Secondly, we want to encourage you to join us for our all-night prayer, 12 hours of prayer. Start sending in your prayer requests. Go ahead and put your prayer requests down there. We are going to be praying. We've already started praying over the session that God would come in and meet us in a mighty way. It's going to happen April the 28th and April the 29th. We're starting at 6 p.m. April the 28th on that Friday. We're going to pray all night, 12 hours until Saturday morning, 6 a.m. April the 29th. You can be a part of it either in person or virtually. The information is located below this video. So make sure you either click on the link or you look at the information that's there, and you'll be able to join us and just be a part of it. But if you can't, leave your prayer request because we want to make sure we pray over that. Now, this is what we wanted to talk about, Ruth and Boaz. We wanted to, because a lot of times we don't read the Bible. And I just wanted to read through the book of Ruth really quickly and just kind of give you the cliff notes of it. But I encourage you to go back and read through the entire book of Ruth. There are only 4 chapters, and really, you can do this. But let's start real quick with this. I just pray that God would open the eyes of our understanding as we're going through this book, because sometimes we're told, and this is the reason why I'm doing this, sometimes we're told a lot of things in church, but because we don't actually read the word, we're only passing along and getting insight through whatever the person is telling us. But if we go back and read it, you'd be surprised at some of the things that you'll find out that's in the word. Okay, for instance, Ruth and Boaz. A lot of us have heard that, Ruth was in the right place at the right time and she found the love of her life. Boaz was winking his eye at her and, Boaz was checking her out. So everybody's like, yeah, I want my Boaz to come and I want to make sure he sees me and this, that, and the other. But I beg to differ. So let's read. Open up your Bibles to the book of Ruth. We're going to give you some insight, and it's going to be the word, and you can take that up with God, but I want to share the truth with you. So first chapter, it talks about Naomi. It talks about Naomi had 2 sons. She also had a husband. The 2 sons got married. They got married to Orpah and to Ruth. Then we're going down to the 6th verse. And Naomi said unto her 2 daughters-in-laws, you return to your mothers, basically, because I don't have anything to give you. This was after her husband died. This was after Naomi's husband died and her 2 sons died. So it was just Naomi and then the 2 daughter-in-laws. So the one daughter-in-law went back to her people, Orpah. We don't hear anything else about her. She just exit stage left. She was gone. Ruth, however, stayed and was like, I'm clinging to you. I'm hanging with you. Okay, then we're going to go into chapter 2 of Ruth. And it says, and Naomi had a kinsman. Listen to this. Chapter 2, verse 1. And Naomi had a kinsman of her husband's, a mighty man of wealth, and the family of Elimelech. I'm saying it wrong. Elimelech. That's what it is. And the family of Elimelech. And his name was Boaz. Okay, through all that buffoonery, this is basically what it was. Naomi was related to Boaz. He was a distant cousin down the line, or her husband's cousin, I should say. Naomi's husband was relatives or related to Boaz. You hearing what I'm saying? And some of this doesn't jive with what we've heard over the years, so keep a listening. I'm telling you, this is like a soap opera. Okay, we're over in chapter 2, over to verse 15. I'm skipping a lot, so you have to go back through and read for yourself, but I'm just giving you the highlights of it. Verse 15 in chapter 2, it says, and when she was risen, let's see, Boaz told the young men who were working in the field to let her glean even among the sheaves, and let some extra handfuls of things fall so that she can get, he's talking about Ruth, let some extra seeds and grains and all that stuff fall so that she can have a lot to take home with her. Okay, and then verse 20 in chapter 2 says, the man, and this is Naomi talking to her daughter-in-law, Ruth. Naomi says, the man is near of kin unto us, one of our next kinsmen. So Naomi is telling Ruth, this guy is related to us through my husband. And so we're going down to verse 23, chapter 2, verse 23. And it says, so let's see, after the end of the barley harvest and the wheat harvest, there's significance in that. We're not going to get into that right now, but it was after the harvest. Okay, chapter 3, verse 4. And it shall be when he lieth down. Okay, let me back up. Let me explain this to you. Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, go to where Boaz is having a feast. Go to where he's eating. And when he's done eating, then you follow him. It says, and it shall be when he lies down that thou shalt mark one place where he shall lie down. And then thou shalt go in and uncover his feet and lay down, and he will tell thee what thou shalt do. This is in chapter 3, verse 4. So the mother-in-law is telling Ruth, after Boaz is done eating, I want you to follow him to where he is sleeping. Go and lay at his feet. And then when he wakes up, he's going to tell you what he wants you to do. This is Naomi telling Ruth to follow Boaz into his bedchamber. Okay? I'm not telling y'all to do that, but I'm just telling you what's happening in the word. So anyway, let's see. We're going to go down to chapter 3, verse 12. And now it is true. This is Boaz talking to Ruth. They had had a conversation. He asked her who she was and all that stuff. So then he says, and now it is true that I am thy near kinsman. Howbeit, there is a kinsman nearer than I. Okay. So in verse 12, Boaz is telling Ruth, yeah, I'm related to you, but there is somebody who comes before me in the family line. We need to go talk to him, because out of tradition, the person in the family line, when the husband was gone, because the husband was gone and Naomi's sons were gone, so there was no man to cover or to help these women or to even keep the family name, the family line moving forward. So Boaz is telling Ruth, yeah, I'm related to you, but there's somebody before me that has a right. He has the first right of refusal, basically. He's got to step up to the plate. That's how the tradition goes. And if he doesn't step up to the plate, then I'll come into the picture. Have y'all ever heard this preached before? Okay. So read your word, read your word. Down in verse 13, it says, well, let him do the kinsman's part. But if he will not do the part of the kinsman to thee, then will I do the part of the kinsman to thee, as the Lord liveth. That's Boaz, what I just said. Boaz telling Ruth that. Okay, chapter 4, we're going to verse 4. And it says, and I thought to advise thee, saying, buy it. Oh, okay. Let me back up. So Boaz goes to talk to this other family member and says to the family, tells the family member basically what's going on. And so he's basically saying, now, if you don't want to buy up the land, if you don't want to basically redeemed is how they said it. If you don't want to redeem all of this and take on the responsibility of Naomi and of Ruth, then let me know, because then I'm next in line after you. So these two guys are talking and they're trying to figure out what happened. Okay. Then in chapter 4, verse 5, then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must also buy, wait, let me back up. Verse 5 says, then said Boaz, what day thou buyest the field of the hand of Naomi, thou must buy it also of Ruth, the Moabite, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance. Basically, you want to keep this family line going. So if you take up the land that Naomi owns or has an opportunity to get because of her husband, because women didn't own land. If you take up Naomi's land and take her in, you're also going to have to take Ruth. So he's explaining all this. So then the kinsman said, I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I mar mine own inheritance. Redeem thou my right to thyself, for I cannot redeem it. Basically, he's saying, listen, I got a good thing going on here for myself, and I cannot put my hands in what's happening with Naomi and Ruth, because if I do, it's going to mess up what I got over here. So you know what? You have at it. You can go for it and you can do it. And so then down in verse 9, and Boaz said unto the elders and unto all of the people that were around, ye are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was the children's and all that. So basically, I've got witnesses. I bought all this stuff. I got Naomi's inheritance. I got the land that belonged to Naomi's husband. And I also got Ruth as a part of this deal, because the relative that was in line before me had the first right of refusal. They have witnesses. And so verse 10 of chapter 4 says, Moreover, Ruth the Moabites, the wife of, Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife, to raise up the name of the dead of his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among the brethren, and even from the gate of his place, ye are witnesses this day. Basically saying, I have taken on them so that the name, this family name, will continue. That was important. The family name had to continue. And you know, the family name only continues through the male. And if it was just two women, there was no way. When they died off, that family name would be gone. And so Boaz stepped in order to make sure that family name continued. And there's significance in that. I'll tell you in a minute. We're almost to it. Verse 13 in chapter 4, it says, So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went into her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. Remember, I said the male was the only one that could carry the name. Now get this. When the baby was born, this is verse 17, they named the baby Obed, O-B-E-D, Obed. He is the father of Jesse, who was also the father of David. There was a reason that this interaction had to happen. There was a reason that this family line had to continue, because there was prophecy that Jesse and David, had to be king. Do you know what I'm saying? That family line had to continue. And so Ruth and Boaz came together because of I don't want to say a business deal, but they came together because of tradition. They came together because that family name had to continue. They came together because there were generations that were depending on them to come together. It wasn't because Boaz had Google eyes for Ruth. He told her, you need to go and ask. Tradition says that you ask the other relative before you ask me. Or maybe he has said, I don't want you, ask the other relative. Then if he won't do it, then I guess I'll do it, you know. But I don't know. I'm inflecting all of that. But the bottom line is, it wasn't what you usually hear in churches and in sermons that, you know, Boaz is looking for you and blah, blah, blah. Okay, in essence, yeah, it kind of is. But there's a whole story wrapped around it. So I encourage you to go and read the Book of Ruth. It's only 4 chapters, and there's so much in it. I just gave you the cliff notes as best I could. Again, I appreciate you listening. Thanks so much for joining us today. Give us a thumbs up. Leave a comment. If you learned something new today, leave a comment down there. Would love to hear that, what you learned, and if there's anything else that you'd love for us to delve into. Also, don't forget, our 12 hours of prayer is coming up, and we are so super excited about it. April the 28th, beginning at 6 p.m., to April the 29th, ending at 6 a.m. That's Saturday morning, Friday to Saturday morning. We are going to have a beautiful time because we're believing that God is going to come in and really just saturate the place. So if you can be in person or if you have to be virtually, go ahead and make sure you read the information that is there about the conference coming up, because we want you to take part. Also, leave your prayer requests below. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because this is a growing community and we want you to be a part of it. Take care. Bye-bye.